Hey everybody, want to make this highlight video just to explain some of the concepts we talked about from week three's class. I know a fair bit of you had to miss due to travel commitments and such, so just want to take the time just to give you the scenario or a scenario that we played out last Friday. I got my helper here with me today. So this is Sully. He is our 7-year-old chocolate lab, full of energy and has a lot of puppy in him despite the grays coming in there in his chin. Okay, so let's play out a scenario. All right, we talked about this a lot in week three. You can kind of work this with me. So say you're a right-hand golfer, which I think everyone in the class is. You're a right-hand golfer, and you begin the takeaway. So you bring the club away from your body, and you can just envision this. And we're going to talk about the relationship between the foot and the pelvis that's occurring as you go through the golf swing. So you're a right-handed golfer, you go through the takeaway. What is going on? Okay, your right foot begins to rise. The arch and the right, we talked about this a lot in week 1 and week 2. The right foot, here's a right foot. This is a lowered arch. This is a neutral arch. This is it rising. So what's happening is, this is my tibia, my shin bone. I'm going towards this side. I'm going towards my right side. So here it's rotating. You can just feel yourself. You're in your right side. You're rotating to your right. The tibia is rotating. What happens? Look at the front. Look at the inside view of the foot. The arch is rising. Okay, so you're going towards your right. The foot arch is rising. Okay, let me grab my pelvis. So now, here's the pelvis model. Okay, so this is a neutral pelvis. Okay, what happens is, this is my right side. As you begin to go to the right, my foot arch is rising. What happens is, this right innominate or hip bone has to externally rotate or open up like that. Externally rotate. So I'm here. Okay, it's externally rotating. Look at what happens in the back side. Okay, this is the right side. As you externally rotate, see how it has to kind of come out like that. So here, externally rotate. Okay, so one more time, going into the right side. I am showing a far bigger range of motion that actually happens but just to prove a point, I want you to understand. So right side, externally rotates. Okay, now as you're beginning to take away, what happens on the left side? Okay, imagine this is my left foot. The arch, the arch has to melt, mold, yield, whatever word you want to use. I just don't like collapsing, because that implies there's no coordination. It's just mindlessness, and it's not really a mindlessness. It's actually like a planned joint series that happens. So it doesn't just collapse, it actively melts into the ground as you start to bend your left side. So you can think about that too in the takeaway, right? You're bringing it back into your right side. You can kind of see your knee on your left side. You're feeling the knee on the left side starts to translate forward. Okay, your knee starts to bend. And remember, as we bend over a joint, as we bend over the foot, the arch, like I just showed you, has to mold into the ground. Why? Because it's just you distributing your force throughout your whole surface area of your foot. So with the left side, your arch is lowering or molding. And then with the left pelvis, here's the left side of my pelvis here. It actually closes like that. So it internally rotates. So that is the action in the hip bone. That. So from the back side, you're going to look at this one. It looks like this. Okay? That is internal rotation. Okay? Now, as you begin to take the club back into the backswing, all of that becomes more enhanced. Your arch on the right foot continues to rise all the way through the full cycle of the backswing. The pelvis, the innominate bone, continues to externally rotate as we showed you. And then the inverse is happening on the left side. Your foot continues to melt more into the ground. Your hip continues to internally rotate. And that happens all the way throughout the swing. And on the downswing, the exact inverse happens as you transition. So why am I showing that to you? Because a lot of times We don't have this, right? We have a compensation of some sort. So the foot can't melt fully into the ground, or the arch can't completely rise from the ground. Same thing with the pelvis. We talked a lot about this in week 3. It doesn't. You don't always have the ability to internally rotate and externally rotate the pelvis, let alone deviate from one side or the other. You're right. One side should be able to close, the other should be able to open. Okay, that is what enables us to shift our weight into one side. If we don't have that, what do? Well, we orient, which just means we basically take the whole unit and we drift it off to the side. So I'm going to go to my right. I'm a golfer. Shoot, I don't have that range of motion in the right side of the pelvis and the left side of the pelvis. So what do? I take my whole pelvic unit and I shift it over to the side. A lot of us do that. I'd say 95% of us do that. And what happens is we get a compensatory strategy. Oftentimes, with the pelvis specifically, we use the musculature in the lower back to facilitate that movement, which is a big no-no, which causes flare-ups all throughout the lower back and the glute, etc. We talked a lot about that in week 3. The exercises and homework will help with that, but one thing that I'd highly encourage you to do, and you can ask me about this privately, is go through the assessments. So we did 5 different tests to assess within this scale of internal and external rotation of the hip and the lowering and rising of the foot arches, where you fall short. And through the assessment, we can just get an understanding of, oh, this is why you're falling short. This is where you're tight. This is where you're more loose. You have this compensatory problem because you lack the internal rotation in your left hip. I'm just throwing out a hypothetical example, but this is running long. I knew it would be. I don't want to go too much over. I just wanted to play out a scenario of what will happen between the pelvis, okay, and the foot throughout the golf swing. Okay, so what happens as you begin your takeaway, go into the full landscape of the backswing, and then you transition to the downswing. Okay, that is what the body needs as it pertains to the foot and the pelvis. Now, on Friday's class in week 4, we're going to talk a lot about the spine and the upper body, and we'll start to rope that or tie that together, just so you can get a full idea as to what's going on. So I'm going to stop the video there. If you have any questions and you want to know the assessments, please let me know. I'd be happy to share them with you, or we can talk about that briefly in Friday's class. All right, everybody, take care.